All right. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Super excited that you all dialed in and are joining us. I'm Natalie Bradley. I'm a field architect with GitHub. I've been here for about 2 years now, and I help our enterprise customers with GitHub implementation and creating a more collaborative culture and enterprise. And I'm joined here with 2 others that are going to introduce themselves as well.
Hey everybody, I am Eric Johnson. I am a solutions engineer here at GitHub, working with our largely our public sector customers. And I've been here for a while, but for today, I'm going to play a newbie, new on the job coder, because we're going to talk a little bit about collaboration and GitHub and how all that comes together. And we've got many wise people on the call, like Natalie. But not me today. I'm a newbie here. And we also have, I don't know, over in the booth, Dean, DJ Jazzy Dean, who is going to be manning the chat here for us.
Hey folks, Dean Stravopoulos, also from the solutions engineering team at GitHub. Good to meet you folks. Yeah, so for today's session, I'm going to look to moderate the chat. So let's continue on this theme of collaborative development. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm also going to look to ask a couple of questions and let's have some fun. Back to you folks.
So let's get to know you just a bit here. And I've got a question for you all. Who here uses GitHub? Do you use it personally? Do you use it professionally? Or both? Let us know so we can kind of shape this demo around that. All right, so we've got people using it both. That's awesome. GitHub, lots of boths. Cool. Yay. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we've got a lot of both. So super excited about that because our content works either way. It's just super helpful to figure out how to collaborate at work. So we want to make sure that we're sharing that info with you today. So we're going to talk, highlight what collaboration is and how you do that at work. We're not going to deep dive too much into any one thing, but we totally can. So just shoot a note over in the chat and Dean will let us know if we need to slow down or deep dive on anything. The cool thing about collaboration is it's two-sided. So for today's demo, we're going to be two-sided, right? So I'm a maintainer of a repository and Eric is going to be a contributor looking to help on something cool. For the purposes of this demo, we don't know each other, but I need help and he's looking for something cool to do. So we're gonna hit how to do some search tips, how to find things that aren't related to your direct work, but maybe it's something you're interested in or somebody else needs help. We're gonna talk a little bit about actions, what they are and how you can use those in your projects to do builds. And then we're going to explain the GitHub Flow and actually demo it. So you're going to see both sides of the GitHub Flow, how to contribute something, how to review and approve something, and ultimately how to collaborate. So hopefully you'll learn some new cool things to take advantage of. So with that, we will get started. Let me share my screen here and show you a repository that this project is actually a project we use at GitHub. For the purposes of today, we've moved it to a different organization called Universal Exports. And we did that so that we don't mess up anybody's who's actually working today and get some cool things done. But Slide Heroes, so here's the repository. Slide Heroes is actually just a group of us that knew we needed to get something done that our company hasn't totally resourced. So there's about 5 of us that are maintainers on this repository. We index and cultivate a bunch of slide decks and briefings that solutions engineers within our companies use. We tag it, we help them sort it and find it so they know what's relevant, what's useful, all this kind of stuff. It's a super helpful repository in our organization that we've turned into a GitHub page. GitHub page, if you're not familiar, is a static website and lets you display really cool information internally to your fellow organization people or externally to the World Wide Web. So here is the actual page for Slide Heroes. You can see slide decks, who created them, a little bit about them, and the date. So again, super helpful content for our community, but it's not a dedicated project in GitHub. So as a maintainer, I am always looking for people to help, whether it's help with issues, help with feature requests, help fix bugs, all that kind of stuff. So from there, I'm going to turn it over. As you can see, a little hint here, I've got an issue or a bug already on my page. So from here, I'm going to turn it over to newbie Eric and see if he's willing to help us out at all.
Well, and I don't know about you all, but when I'm new on the job, I worry about a couple of things. One, I worry about where's a decent place to have lunch, and I also worry about okay, can I do something? What can I do that's going to impress my boss soon after I've just joined this job? Because obviously, why? Because we want to impress our bosses, especially when we're new at the job. And the other thing that I really worry about is, can I find something to do that's going to impress my boss without bugging my boss too much, right? That isn't going to be too hard, because I don't know about you, but I want to like look kind of smart and clever and eager and all that good stuff. So let's see how we can do about this. Let me share my screen. Now I will say I do know a bit about GitHub because, you know, like you guys, I've used it personally. I've used it at other jobs. I've used it in a lot of different places. So I know a little bit about that. I don't know a lot about universal exports though, other than it seems like a really, really great place to work. So I'm going to start here. Now, you'll see here on my screen, we're starting out just at the organization page here for universal exports. You may be familiar with this, but there's a couple of superpowers here that you may not know. First off, what this is showing repositories that I have access to. There may be some other stuff. I'm in the company. There's some stuff that I can see. Some of these are, you know, private repositories that my team or whatever must have access to. Some of these are internal. That means anybody here at Universal Exports could access that kind of thing. And then the other thing that's interesting here is this view is going to be sorted by most recent action. So stuff that I can access that's been hot or popular recently is going to be more at the top of this list. So right away, I can kind of see, you know, a little bit what's going on. I see some people have used topics to identify, you know, maybe the technologies of what's going on here with the various repositories. So even just at a first glance, let me go in deep. I don't know, you know, what does Universal Exports do? Hopefully I ask that in my interview. But I can tell from a code perspective a little bit about what's going on. I'm going to use GitHub search just off the bat here to see a couple of things. First off, good lunch places. Okay, GitHub doesn't help me with good lunch places. I'm going to have to ask somebody that later on, alas. Let me do another little search here though for something here, and that might be help wanted. Okay. Now, first off, notice a couple of things. Let me just go back here for a minute. Let me do that in slow motion here for a minute. Let me just come on back to our org page. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so org page here. All right. Again, this is just the main search box right up in the top of the black banner there, right on top of GitHub. And if you put anything here by default here, I got a couple of options here where to search. Okay. Now, if you're using GitHub at work, you're going to have help wanted, a way to search in this organization. In this case, this means I'm searching only in Universal Exports. If you're using GitHub on your own, you're not going to have that option probably, right? You are going to have the option of searching all of GitHub. I am sure that there are open source projects on all of GitHub here who have help wanted and are going to want my help. I am sure that they may be even more deserving than whatever I'm going to find to do on my first day here at Universal Exports. But I think I'm going to stick with something that I can show my boss and, you know, keep up the excitement about me being here on. So I'm going to search in this organization. Okay. And I'm going to see a couple things. First off, one, there is not a repository in the organization named help wanted or with help wanted in the name. That makes sense. Commits. Okay. I do see a little bit of code. So let's look at those code results here. And I guess what I'm seeing here are some snapshots, some markdown files here, you know, how to contribute here in a couple of different repositories. But what these are pointing out are help wanted issues, just some text talking about that. And here's a secret. So as you probably know, issues are the way out in GitHub people track bug reports or feature requests or just things to do. And as you may know, there are a set of labels that you can add to issues. What you may not know is, so a given organization can set what those labels are. A given repository or project can set what those labels are. You choose, it's kind of up to you. But GitHub itself ships with some default choices. And one of those default choices is help wanted. The idea being, if somebody, like in Natalie's situation, has got a project that could use some additional help, that is an obvious way to label those. Now, your org may have a different convention. You may use a different set of labels at work. You may be involved in projects that set their own set of standards. So I would encourage you to kind of look around at the issue list and those list of labels to kind of see what the rules are. But if you don't know, and you're trying to impress your boss and it's your first day, searching for help wanted is a pretty cool thing to do. Now, the text files, the markdown files here where I'm seeing this aren't going to help us very much. So I'm going to do another thing. I'm going to do a little refinement here to this search. And that is, oops, I need some quotes around it. Because help wanted has got space in the middle, I got to put some quotes around this. So I'm going to refine this search and search for the label help wanted, not just text, not free text, but the label itself. I'm still working just in my organization. Again, if you search GitHub wide for that string, you're going to find a ton of issues because that's one of our default labels. A lot of projects use that. But notice in this case here, I've got a couple of issues here that come up. The second one looks a little interesting. Okay, it's in a repository here called Slide Heroes. Did I hear something about that a minute ago? I don't think I was supposed to hear that. Okay. This looks like kind of a feature request, right? Like, okay, let's add some tags and blog posts, whatever. I don't know. This seems a little complicated for my first day. I think I'm going to do something small. I don't want to impress my boss that much. So let me do something a little smaller. Let's go back and look at that other one here. Let's look at this one. Okay. Broken build. Again, this is in Slide Heroes. And okay, it looks like we've got somehow some build action here fails. This is a little GitHub page. This is a little button here for GitHub actions that can show status where they passed, where they failed. Let's go over there and take a look and see if we can see this live. All right. And it looks like I've got a link here to something here. Let's go over and take a look at that. Oh. Well, that's modestly scary, but it's also a little bit familiar. But Dean, we got anybody asking anything we should answer here before we go into the modestly familiar and scary stuff?
We have a lot of conversations about how folks like GitHub Pages, which is great, right? No questions yet. I'll look to surface those as they come along. Welcome everybody that's just joining as well.
Awesome. Okay. Let me detour for a second. So I love GitHub Pages because it's like bam, web hosting at super scale without a lot of super muss and fuss. GitHub Pages use, and even this screen is showing us here, GitHub Pages use something called Jekyll behind the scenes. It's a Ruby-based templating library. It's pretty good, it's pretty cool. I will say that there are a raft of other solutions for that kind of stuff as well, and a lot of stuff. Jekyll itself has been around for a good little while. There are a bunch of JavaScript-based languages that do the same sort of thing. Again, markdown files, some sort of templating language, and then generate the output here. You can publish, even if you want to use Jekyll like we have. If you want to use any of the others, you can publish those to GitHub Pages pretty straightforwardly as well. So the scale of pages. But if you want to use the stuff that's built in, Jekyll is the way to go. And it's got its own set, like liquid formatting and template language and that kind of stuff. Pretty cool. It's not too hard, but there are other approaches to that, as well. In our world, and here's what's a little interesting. Ordinarily with GitHub Pages, if you just have Jekyll and you publish to a branch that's named the right way, it'll just poof, kind of do the right thing. what I'm looking at right here, what that bug report that Natalie filed is looking at is to an action. So there must be something a little fancier going on. I see Jekyll. I think Jekyll's what we're using, but it must be that there's something a little bit fancy that we have to do an explicit build action here. And I'm just gonna take a guess at it. I bet if I poked around the README here, this repository, I would learn a little more. Let's go actually, go and we can go ahead and do that. But I'm gonna guess, usually when you see a build action like this for Jekyll itself, it means GitHub Pages supports a certain set of Jekyll plugins, kind of a pretty tame set. My guess is whatever we're doing here, it needs some additional plugins that GitHub doesn't come with out of the box. That's probably what this what this script is doing. And if I kind of take a look at this part of the action with the red X, hey Dean, are red X's good or bad?
Not great.
Not great?
Not great.
Is a red X on Friday better than a red X on other days or worse?
I would say it's worse just because it's Friday and you want to hit the weekend.
Okay. But maybe if I get rid of this red X, my boss will like think that they hired the right guy and they'll keep me around a little longer, right? So maybe okay, all right.
Exactly.
So maybe red X's aren't all bad, but hopefully this will be an easy red X. Okay, all right. All I know here, again, looking at this, and let's kind of take kind of a hop right up. I'm going to go up here to the code here in that we're looking at. So let's come on up to the Slide Heroes repository. And let's take a look. And I see, okay, that bug report that's saying the build is failing, what's going on. We saw here in the issue over here, let me pop this in another tab, our broken build issue. We got to this through search a minute ago, but this is that same issue. It's issue number 12. A link here to results that are showing why it's breaking. So let's just look real quick. What is that action trying to do? And let's kind of get in the ballpark there around that. And I'm hoping, because one, it's Friday, and those red X's aren't good. Let's see if we can get rid of that red X, but also and clear up Natalie's issue here. But also let's see if we can't do that with let's see if we can do this with a modest amount of effort, because it is just first day on the job. Okay. So again, if we take a look here, GitHub Actions, the kind of the workflow that actually builds here are all in a .github folder, in a folder under that called workflows. And what's very lucky for us is there's one workflow in this folder, so we can guess pretty quickly that this might be part of what's going on. If we go look at the other side of this thing, that is when it last ran and what happens, we're running an action here called publish to GitHub Pages. It's the Jekyll action here that failed, and it looks like a build and publish part of this thing where we've got an error. If we got something called build and publish in here, we do. Okay. So it looks like something in that part of the action is what's conking out over here. Okay. And I noticed one other thing, two other things here that we're going to need to know. So in an action, this keyword uses means this step of the action uses somebody else's code. Halali's code, it looks like at this point. This is running a pre-packaged action step. I know nothing about this, but what I do know about GitHub Actions is that when it said, that line says uses, and I see the name of something, that's actually the name of a GitHub repository. Right? So what I want to do is do two things. I want to grab the literal error message here that we've got. And I'm thinking that could not find bundler over here. It looks to me, whatever we're doing here, it looks like we've got a problem. That seems to be the exact error message we've got. Let's take that error message. Let's come on over here to the repository that has that action. And let's just see if we can see what's going on. I might see what's going on from a code perspective, but you know what I'm hoping for? Because it's Friday, I'm hoping that somebody else has had a problem with this. And maybe we can use somebody else's brains to really figure this out. I'm a fan. Well, Natalie, don't tell anybody that I like to use somebody else's brains to make it look good for my boss on my first day at work.
I'll keep it to myself.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm now over here. Did I copy and paste that repository? Halali Jekyll action. Halali Jekyll actions. All right. Looks like we're in the right place. What's my error message? Could not find bundler. Okay. Let's come on over here. And again, we're going to use the search bar. Like once again, could not find bundler. Literally copy and paste the error. But in this case, I'm not going to search all of GitHub. I'm sure someone on all of GitHub can't find bundler. I don't even want to know what bundler is. I don't want to know those results. I do want to know, did anybody have that problem here in this code base? So has anybody mentioned that problem here? And I see that there is, and this looks very suspiciously exactly like that error message here that we're having. Now, notice a couple of things. I see a couple of could not find bundler here. So this is an issue here that's been closed, I guess fixed, I don't know. This is a pull request here. This pull request is still open. So somebody has suggested some code changes, mentioned bundler somewhere in the comments or discussion around this. But that's still open. It hasn't been accepted here. And this is an error message here that's open, or sorry, an issue here that's open. So let's dive into this issue to start with to see, if we can find out what's going on. All right. And Dean, while I'm looking at this, oh boy. Okay. So we've got an issue. It's talking about bundler, and that happens to be that. I think that version number is over in error message. So that's probably good. Yeah, 117.2. So that's probably good. Okay. Whoops. And I see a couple of interesting things. One is that this particular issue has got 20 comments, which means I'm going to be scrolling for a minute. So while I scroll, Dean, we got any questions we got to answer right now?
No questions. A lot of great talk on the chat here. But what it sounds like is it looks like we have a error, right? You're trying to leverage maybe folks on your team to find, how you can fix that. You went on the search, you found some, you found a resource here, and you're going to look to leverage that resource and maybe plug that in. Does that sound about correct?
That is absolutely right. But I would point out one other thing. This isn't even anybody on my team. I'm just searching, right? I'm searching GitHub. That action is using somebody else's code. This is not universal exports code. I mean, it could be, right? If this was something, but this is actually, GitHub wide. And likewise, I'm in searching for this problem, if you will, the issue here. I find somebody talking about a problem, might be caused by the same thing, might not, I don't know, but I'm guessing that it's going to be pretty similar. And I don't know anybody of these folks. It's just like in this world, I'm helping out addressing a bug that Natalie's filed on that issue. We haven't even met yet.
So you can just take actions that are just out there and plug them right in. Is that the idea?
You can. Yeah, you sure can. You sure can. And there's a couple of ways, to do that. When you're editing an action, we provide some suggestions over there, the right sidebar. I can show you this in a little bit. Or GitHub itself. This is this marketplace list right at the top here of GitHub takes you to this page. And if you want to look through actions, there's a little category here. There's a lot of them, 4,400 at this point. But these are components that can be mixed and matched into actions to accomplish various stuff that we need to. I'm just searching here through Jekyll, and it looks like there's a lot of different ones here. I will point out this one, though. This is the one that we're talking about currently. So this is Halali's Jekyll action plugin here that we're looking at, and that obviously we got some kind of problem. Probably something we're doing, who knows what it is.
That's really cool.
Back to the test. Yeah, plug and mix and match and plug and play. And again, the idea here is there are way more folks out there in the world that are smarter than me at my first day on the job for sure, and that are smarter than me on my last day on the job. And how do we sort of pull all of that input, all of that kind of community input together in a way that can help me in this little task, and then maybe I can help somebody else with their task, Natalie in this case, or folks across the world. All right, back to this little task at hand though. I'm still reading. But what I'm going to say here is to summarize, because I have read this before, so I won't bore you here with reading it. This is here. It's available if you want to check it out. This is the fabulous here, bug number 16 over there in Halali's repository issues. But I see in this case here somebody, me as it happened, right, in prep to this. This was me not on my first day of work. This was me after I'd been at work for a little while. Okay, last job, whatever it is. But we do have here a pull request here. Okay, and this pull request is purporting to solve that problem. Okay, and the key kind of piece of this pull request here is that this is, it's been sort of, we sort of copied this over into a working copy repository. We forked Halali's version of this thing. We made some changes, and this version of it that's been filed in that pull request purports to solve the problem. Now, let's just pull it, let's try it. Let's see what happens, all right? So what we're going to do here at this point, we're basically going to make a change to this code. Okay. Now that pull request over in Halali's project hasn't been accepted, so it's just code kind of out there on offer. And if we come back here, there's let me come back here. Whoops, back. There's still you know, some kind of conversation here around, is this like the best way to go to solve this? And this code fix has not been put in place. There's still some debate, you know, is really Michael's got a different idea that makes a lot of sense. I don't know Michael, but it's, I mean, he's got great suggestions here. He's the guy who originally filed this issue. I haven't met him, but again, really, really good ideas. So again, it's, you know, kind of one approach here, but let's go, you know, kind of take a look at that approach. Take a look at what this suggestion is. And when we hop through to this code, we'll see that we have in fact got an updated version of this action, you know, in pull request form with a pull request that says to do it, but it really is just an updated version of this code. So what I want to do is let's give this a try. Okay, and by giving this a try, we're going to come on over. We're on our sort of broken build version of this file. We're going to work in the web browser today, because why not? Hey, let's point out, so Dean, you had mentioned like, hey, how do we find other actions? And I kind of showed you that marketplace thing. Notice I'm editing an action here, and notice on that right sidebar, I've got some suggestions of common actions here, you know, to be used. And this caching action is a great one. We've actually got that plugged in here. It's my first day on the job, so I don't know what it does, but it's got to be good. More caching is good, right? Always. What I want to do, what I've done here is just grabbed a copy of that action, the sort of a copy of that URL of that pull request where LStudio had gone and, you know, kind of changed that code. Okay. And what I'm going to do, yeah, it's giving me some errors here because our syntax isn't quite right. What I'm going to do is just replace the line right up above. I'm going to do this so you can see the contents of both here. The thing to know about an action itself, when you're using somebody else's action, this Halali Jekyll action stuff is just the URL. Get rid of the github.com part. Boom. And then that @ business is a particular branch or a particular tag. So in the kind of pull request version, we were working off of a branch over there called 25 Ruby 2.6. Again, I got to change that syntax a little bit, get rid of the, you know, part of that URL, put an @ in there. But now we have basically got a pointer here over to not the original version here that Halali was talking about, but our updated version, this forked pull request version that LStudio put together. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the previous line up there because GitHub's we're going to have to commit this, put it in pull request and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have that previous version. There's no need to save that, you know, for posterity to go back to it here. But that then, well, let's see what this is going to do. Right. And Dean, I'm going to go ahead and hit a commit here. All right. And then we'll kind of talk about the collaboration piece. But how are we doing in the chat there? Anything we need to know about or questions we ought to be answering right now?
We're doing well. I think Just quick question here. So it looks like we had a build process that was failing. And so is the idea here the fact that you found an action that works and you're just plugging that in to see if we can get this build process going?
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
And I would say it even a little bit sketchier than that. I've got an action that somebody has doctored up and thinks will work. I don't know it's going to work yet. Right. So we're going to plug it in there. We're going to see, if this build will succeed, and, and kind of go from there and troubleshoot and tweak accordingly. But yes, and I think the important piece of this thing is, we're looking at actions because it's quick to work with and quick to kind of switch stuff out, but the same sort of techniques. So I've got some kind of error in my code. It's using a library out there. We're using an action just 'cause it's easy to see the components and see what's in there. And you don't have to know a lot of fancy languages here. But that's true of any third-party open source code. There is a problem. Let's go out to a library that I'm using. Let's search through those issues. Anybody else talked about it?
Love it.
And if somebody's talking about it, I can hop on and say, hey, I got this problem too. What do I do? Or in this case, hey, it looks like there is maybe a fix for this. Let's see if it really is a fix for us.
I love it. And that makes it easy. And then just a question on that. I see this big script here. Did you write all of this?
Me? I don't know anything. It's my first day of work.
Got it.
No, I don't know. So my guess is all of this action, I will tell you a couple of things about this. So this is kind of a workflow. My guess is that whoever put this Slide Heroes repository together did this initially. My guess is they must be using some fancy Jekyll plugin, and doesn't have to be too fancy, just a plugin to do like tags. GitHub standard Jekyll stuff doesn't support tags in an easy way. There's a lot of yucky workaround stuff. But there are Jekyll plugins that can do tags. If you want to do it, you got to kind of build yourself. So my guess is Slide Heroes wanted tags, used a plugin, built a little action here that would actually go ahead and run Jekyll independently and then do the upload to GitHub Pages. That Halali's action does both of those things at one time. I know that from looking into it earlier. So it does the Jekyll build, pushes to GitHub Pages. There are other, I think, ways to do it. And it looks to me like this caching stuff and whatever, again, it's other stuff that in theory should like kind of speed this build up.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Jekyll action, Ruby 2.6. Okay, great. So I've typed some stuff in a web browser. Let's save our changes. And, in the world of GitHub, we are going to start a commit for this. Okay. Now, we're going to see more of this in a second, but I'm going to put a comment in here, which is, yeah, sure, we updated Jekyll, but try to fix the build. Try to fix build failures. I don't know if anybody remembers, this whole started with an issue that we were tracking down way back when. Whenever I want to refer to an issue, you type the £, and then we've got some help to figure out what other issues are there out of GitHub. I just type pound. I see 12 bug broken build. If I remember correctly, and I'm sure I've got it open in the tab here, that was the bug that we were really working on. I'm going to kind of trust my memory on that it was issue 12. Natalie, was it issue 12?
It was issue 12. Yeah.
It was issue 12. Okay, cool. All right. If only I knew Natalie, I could ask her that question. Okay. The other thing that I'll say here is I am committing this to a branch here, and this is a branch that already exists. More about that in just a second. But when I go ahead and make a code change at this point, I may or may not have the ability to kind of write to this repository. I do because I'm in Universal Exports, first down the job and all that stuff. If I didn't, I would have to fork and make a copy of this to be able to go in and save it. Either way, when I go ahead and write this, I want to go ahead and commit this to a particular branch, and we'll see why in just a second. That makes the whole pull request stuff work better. More on that in just a second. Right. So we're going to say fixes number 12. We're going to commit here. We'll go ahead and commit those changes. Okay, cool. And a couple of things here should happen here in a minute. So one is, perfect. Okay. So I've saved that, and that's all great. And since I have write access to the repository, I can do that, but that's not really going to be ideal. I'm off on this broken build task itself. What I'm going to actually want to do here, is put a pull request in place. So let me go ahead and hit this, compare and pull request, and then let me talk about what this different branch thing is here for a minute. And I think to do that, it's going to be quite helpful here to have to share with you a little bit of a diagram. So let's come on over here. Okay. At GitHub, we highly recommend using GitHub Flow to manage your workflow, to work here with Git in a way that will enable you to kind of keep on working independently in a way that isn't going to mess up other folks. And there's a couple of pieces for that. It's called GitHub Flow because, well, we invented it. That was before my time. That was way before my first day on this job. But it's got a couple of pieces. First piece is get a copy of the code here that you're working with. Again, because I'm part of Universal Experts, I can work with that. If I was working out with Halali's action or a repository I don't have access to, I would fork to get a copy of that code base that I can work with. And you've probably seen that button over on the top right, fork this gives me a copy of that repository then that I can work with directly. To go ahead and get started and make those changes, we want to go ahead and create a branch. And in this case, this is exactly what we've done. And I did that actually before we hopped on. I created a branch here called 12 broken build. That keeps what I'm doing separate from master, separate from potential breaking changes or anything like that that's happening out there. Again, it's my own set of what's going on. I can mess stuff up here at will to some degree. Okay. Or I should say, I can mess stuff up without messing up stuff for everybody else. Okay. So I've done that. Add some commits. I've done that, right? We went ahead and sat there, found that other action over there, saved that, said, okay, let's try this action, see how it's going to work. And now we're here. This is the part of the picture where Natalie learns of my existence and learns that I've been working to help out with this project, okay? The pull request here is a piece where it's like, hey, I've made some changes to the code. I think they're gonna be okay. Let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you why I did. And then that pull request goes back up to the repository where she can get into the picture, where she can see what's going on for the first time. And in this world where had we not known each other, my first day of work, that's where we would, in a way, sort of first meet, if you will, through the medium of GitHub comments and pull requests. What that looks like here is, this. I hit that button earlier. Let's open a pull request. I'm going to go ahead and type some comments in here because it's hard for me to type and talk at the same time. I'm actually going to paste some comments in here. But this pull request fixes number 12. You'll remember number 12. Let's give this a better title here, which is okay. Yeah, that's a so-so title for your pull request, but that I think will get us in the picture. Notice a couple of things, features of this pull request. One is I go ahead and link it out to that issue, to number 12 itself. Notice secondly, I am using one of these superpower keywords. Fixes will mean if this code gets accepted, the issue that is linked will get closed if this code gets merged into master, which is pretty cool, automatically, magically. Secondly, these two are going to be linked when I submit this, so there'll be a record from the issue to the pull request and the code that changed. That's pretty great for traceability perspective. That's pretty great, for future you who will forget what past you has done. Believe me, it's pretty handy. The other thing here is that I will say, and again, I just paste this in. I went in and forget because I really wanted to say, hey, here's where we're getting this code, because it is somebody else's code. And do we have policy around that? I don't know. My boss should have told me. Maybe there's something I should have read that I haven't read yet because I'm trying to dive in and add some value and fix a problem right away. That will at least allow Natalie or anybody reviewing this code to have some idea of kind of what's going on. Okay. So I will go ahead and create this pull request. And we have a pull request, which is pretty exciting. And I will mention just one other thing here that I have not done here. It's not a bad idea in the world of a pull request. So I don't know how this repository is set up. I don't know if Natalie would be notified automatically about this. I think she's going to tell us that in a sec. But if I knew here somebody on the team who would be a good person to review that, I can choose somebody here, Natalie, if I knew her or whatever, that would go ahead and be alerted that this pull request exists. Because I'm new guy on the team, I don't know anybody, I'm not going to do that. But in many work type situations, that would be a pretty good move. And the other thing I'll say is that GitHub, when it can, we can suggest suggested reviewers. So if it's a code base that's got kind of long experience, GitHub will be clever about that and suggest folks who have reviewed content in the past, have reviewed code changes in the past, and we'll give you a list of folks who you might want to choose from that standpoint. But I got to say, I'm nervous now. And the reason I'm nervous is like I've kind of done something and I've pushed some code up there and it's my first day of work and I haven't really read the policy manual about code. And so I kind of hope I do the right thing. And even more importantly, I hope somebody's going to see my code and use it. So I'm kind of waiting like this.
Okay, so thank you, Eric, for that. I'm hanging out at my desk. I'm doing real work. And because I'm a maintainer of that repository and I do have, I am watching it, I do get notifications and boom, I got a notification that says I've got a pull request in my Slide Heroes repository. Now, hopefully you guys can see my screen. I realize I'm on the wrong branch here for this. Okay, so awesome, yes. I have a pull request. I go to that tab and check it out, and sure enough, it's a pull request submitted by someone I'm not familiar with that is requiring my review, but it is to update our build action to avoid failing. So I'm going to open that pull request up. And when you open a pull request, it takes you to the conversation, which is where someone says, hey, I think I've done a cool thing. This is what I've done. It starts the conversation that you can have back and forth with this person around those commits. So I've got, it fixes number 12, which I recall is the failed build. And he's taking a new dependency from here, which we'll see more information about. And yay, he seems pretty excited about it. So I too am excited. Right now.
Oh, can I tell you what I'm really excited about in this, Natalie? I'm even more excited about one other thing. Do you see those green checks? I mean, yeah, there's some red checks there. Dean, are green checks good?
Yes, they are.
Are they good on Friday?
They're great on Friday.
Yes.
I am so happy. Okay.
So a review is required, but as Eric noted, all the checks have passed. It's just the merging is blocked because I've got to do a review. So I'm going to go back up here and look at files changed. Files changed is taking that conversation of what he did and allowing me to see it in the actual code. So this is a split screen that shows on the left side what the code was and on the right side what it is now. So it'll show the things that he has fixed. I can go in here and do a review line by line and create a comment and say or whatever I need to say. Or I can actually go to review changes here, comment overall, I can approve overall, or I can request changes or ask for some feedback. What we've got here though is, why am I not seeing where your file is? It's not rolling. Okay, well, I saw that the build worked. So I am going to trust my intuition. I am going to approve this and submit the review. Once that goes through, it takes me back to the conversation page. And again, it says the changes were approved, all the checks were passed, there's no conflicts. So I'm going to merge the pull request. Again, it gives me a little note that says this is what's going on, and I'm going to confirm that. At this time, I'm actually going to go back to the actions page and watch the build. So red X's are bad, green checks are good, yellow means things are happening. So I am going to wait for this to go through to confirm that everything's awesome. While this is building, worth noting to everybody, the value of what you're kind of seeing here is I'm getting work done on my behalf from brain power outside of my small little project team working on this. Eric is also testing out skills. He's trying something new, meeting new people, which you'll kind of get a sense of as this completes. But it's really building a collaborative environment within your organization or even just in open source repositories. So if anyone has.
And the fact that I got called brain power on my first day at work, I just want to take a victory lap right here. I didn't expect that.
There you go.
Hey,
Okay.
Natalie, can I ask you a quick question here? So
Yeah.
it seems like, a lot of folks have been doing the same thing within their code base, right? So they'll leverage open source code. Are you saying that I can leverage people's code for not only my code, but for the building and the testing processes, basically for my CI/CD process?
Absolutely. It's the joy of open source, right? It's leveraging what exists, what works, and bringing that into the fold. I will say though, if you're using something open source and bringing it internally, you just want to verify what your organizational policies are, if you're allowed to use it, if it's not vulnerable, who manages it and maintains it securely, but absolutely.
Thank you.
So, okay, so the real test, now we saw the pull request is merged. We've got a green check, which is awesome. I'm going to go back to my actual code page and look and see, sure enough, the badge has changed. It's now passing. I'm going to go to my issues and I'm going to, the issue's not even there because Eric, look, he closed it. Issue 12 moved automatically to close. He's doing cleanup for me on my behalf. This is super awesome. So I might, as a separate note, I might now send Eric a Slack, just, hey, awesome, thanks for the help. Great to meet you, and kind of start meeting each other from that point on. So now I'm going to turn it back to Eric and see how he is appreciating an accepted pull request.
Well, I gotta say this, first day, pull request accepted. Look at that, it's been merged. Can you see do you see the purple on there? It's been merged. This is great. This is just terrific. And again, in particular here, okay, so so Natalie approved these changes. Great. Again, we can see the changes here, details. Notice here that there's a place for sort of comment and conversation. So Natalie was showing around, okay, want to approve the code or not, or put line, specific comments on specific lines of code in there if you need to. But there's also an opportunity here just to talk about the pull request generally. And that can sometimes be very, very helpful, particularly, in the case with this one, Natalie, you mentioned organizational priorities here and policy and that kind of thing. Like, is it okay to just pull in L Studio's action? Do we need to instead fork that action, make that change into something here that belongs to, it's still a public repository, but it's just a fork here in universal exports. That's the kind of stuff that you can talk about in a code, in a pull request, in a code review, or you can talk about it, right here. But I got to say, I am just, thrilled here that this, that the thing that I did here on my first day made it into the code base. That is really, really, really cool. Again, kind of, big picture where we left off with me, I had just put that pull request in. Okay. Again, what's a pull request? It's a bunch of changes on a branch, on that feature branch, a bunch of code changes, an explanation of what I was doing, conversation around it, right? So had Natalie had code review comments, had there sort of been general comments here, we can have that kind of discussion. And then ultimately here, an approval, which in our case with GitHub Actions goes on, and once that's merged, because of the way our actions are set up, that will go ahead and deploy. And in this case, update our GitHub Pages website. And again, at that end, that accepting that pull request and merging went ahead and pushed that code in place and and finished that up here for us. So I got to say, I mean, so Dean, the little like, purple merged badge here, is that good or bad on a Friday?
That especially on a Friday, that's a great thing. That means I get to go home, enjoy the weekend.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, it was super high level, but our plan is moving forward to kind of deep dive into more things. So we've got an actions demo coming up soon. We plan to talk about small features and things like discussions, when to use a discussion instead of an issue, or when to use a discussion instead of an issue and a Slack thread. Those kind of things to really make your collaboration more effective and your experience with GitHub even more awesome. So unless there's anything left in the chat, there is a link below, I believe. It's not what you're supposed to do. I think there's a link below for the actual next demo info or to subscribe. So awesome. Anything left in the chat before we hang up, or does anybody have any other random questions? You got 3 experts here. We're happy to answer anything while we have a few minutes.
No. We got 2 experts and a guy who's got 1 day under his belt. Although I got to say, I had a pull request merged.
This is true. That's a pretty awesome first day. And it's Friday and somebody else got some work done for me. So it's, all in all, it's a pretty good week.
You were able to get your problem solved before even meeting your coworker, which is pretty cool.
Oh, how awesome is that, right? And now I could probably be like, hey, Eric, you did this really well. Can you help me on this problem too? That's what's growing your network's all about. It's pretty awesome.
Folks, feel free to ask any questions. We might have a couple more minutes. Love to help you guys out.
All right. Anything else we got in the chat there, Dean?
A couple of thank yous, a couple of just a couple of comments. A lot of thank yous, actually.
Sorry, Dean linked a whole bunch of super helpful docs, the pull request flow, some guides. He had a link for the marketplace. If anybody missed any of those and are interested in links to read more about it, let us know. I feel like he's got those really handy that he can drop them in.
Yes. Right. And it looks, yep. And it looks like we got a couple of links there down there on the channel page too. So again, for that kind of stuff. All right. All right. Hey, thank you all for joining us. It is not often that I get on the first day of work, I get to be on camera. So this has been, a little fun and a little nerve-wracking. I can't believe my code got merged.
Awesome.
Till next time.
Thanks everybody for dialing in.
Thank you, folks. Bye.